Let's take a closer look at the new Mercedes W14. And also here we have to say big thank you to Mercedes for a proper car launch. We saw the real car from every angle with different light, and every responsible person was there and said something. So well done for this. To the more than 60% of unsubscribed viewers who are new to my channel, I worked at McLaren, Force India and Racing Point in the aerodynamic departments before, and today I'm a self-employed motorsport consultant. So if you need help with your project, feel free to reach out. And now back to the Mercedes. The first thing to note is the BMW kidney is back. The front center is slightly raised to get more air underneath and build more suction. Mercedes kept their concept to load the front wing not mostly in the center, but across the span, and they create outwash in front of the front wheels. Here they use their front wing element rollover to create more outwash in the lower region, but this feature is not as extreme as last year. And outwash is a very interesting topic for the Mercedes concept. Pre-2022 cars could produce a lot of outwash with their bargeboard area, so the front rear wake would pass the outside of the rear wheel. Last year we were asking us how Mercedes could push the front rear wake outboard far enough to not drift towards beam wing and barrel area. And we could see that really some of the front rear wake passed the inside of the rear wheel, which is not ideal. And by the way, looking at locked front wheels and rainy sessions shows you the front rear wake better than CFD or wind tunnel because you see the real flow here. So the inboard wake wasn't their main issue last year. The biggest problem was the large exposed floor area, and the floor was bending down with suction building up underneath. That sealed the floor even better and built even more suction, which then resulted in bouncing. Because Mercedes had such a tight bodywork, they couldn't really reinforce the floor without adding too much weight. So it was impressive to see that Mercedes could push the wake this far outboard while they used their zero pods. This year they basically kept the concept but tried to eliminate the main issue, the exposed floor area. So they positioned the side impact tubes like last year, the upper one in a downwashing wing. They use vertical inlets like last year, but they extend the side pod further rearward. The lower part is wider to reduce the exposed floor area, but also to keep the middle front wheel wake outboard and to prevent it from drifting inside. But above that, they stay super tight to get as much clean air to the lower rear area as possible. That was their concept last year, and this is what they see in CFD. Above that, they create a massive cooling path which is downwashing at the back and which makes the car look like a van in this view. So the outwashing surface of the side pod in combination with the downwashing impact tube wing above creates higher pressure at the side pod, which helps to push the front rear wake outboard. The new side pod helps to keep it there. Mercedes uses additional louvers to reject heat. We see small ones on top of the cooling path, which makes sense to guide the losses on top of the bodywork between beam and rear wing, so they don't hit anything important at the back. But the losses of the louvers at the side will end up in the beam wing area, which is not something you would want. Yesterday we talked about how clearly Ferrari separates high energy flow and low energy cooling flow, so why does Mercedes do this? First of all, they might want to reject heat earlier because their packaging underneath is very tight and some components shouldn't get too hot. On the other hand, Mercedes still has a much narrower bodywork than other teams, and hence there is a lot of high energy reaching the rear. And this huge amount mixing up with some low energy flow doesn't hurt them too much. Because of these still tight side pods, they kept their center cooling and the airbox stayed the same. Mercedes actually increased their shark fin a bit. This fin helps to keep the inboard front rear wake outside while cornering, and since Mercedes only has small side pods, that makes sense. But also they reduced its height at the end to guide the shark fin tip vortex underneath the rear wing. And the car is black again, but this time there is a nice technical explanation. They saved weight and didn't paint large parts of it. Carbon fiber is black, so it's similar weight saving like in the 1930s with aluminium cars. Another thing to keep in mind is this is launch spec, and as we remember from last year, the Mercedes could look very different in the first race. So how do you like the new Mercedes W14? Let me know in the comments below and check out my other F1 videos for more.